This week on NHRA Today, older, wiser dragsters duel in the dark in Pomona. Epler pulls the rug out from under force. Johnson & Johnson seesaw, but Dad winds up on top. And Schultz does his Superman bit one more time. From the Winston Championship Banquet in Ontario, California, these stories and more on this edition of NHRA Today. As Yogi Berra once said, it's deja vu all over again. Just 9 months ago, the fastest, quickest season in NHRA history kicked off here at the Fairplex in Pomona. And during that time, 300-mile-an-hour runs became common, including one in funny car. 4-second runs were the rule in top fuel. And Pro Stock dipped low into the 7.0s while creeping closer to 2.00. How do you top such a season of speed? By giving these daring drivers the recognition they richly deserve. The honor, applause, and awards of the annual Winston Championship Banquet. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of NHRA Today. Is this a great-looking group? I'm Steve Evans, coming to you from the annual NHRA Winston Champions Banquet. Tonight, the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company will present hundreds of thousands of dollars in bonus cash to deserving racers. In the next half hour, we'll have highlights of this gala and also results from last weekend's Winston Finals held just up the road at Pomona Raceway. But first, as is our tradition, we must find out what's hot. Winston Finals weekend in Pomona saw the running of the Budweiser Top Fuel Classic, where the field narrowed to a final that pitted the already crowned champion against the man who would be king. But Kenny Bernstein proved no pretender to the throne because this Bud was for him.
A couple of years ago, we got it given to us. Today we ran hard, but great competition with Eddie Hill and these guys.
Al Hoffman is smiling over the new paint job on his funny car. Not so much because he likes the colors, so much as he likes the money they'll mean to his team.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, Western Auto, everybody there, it's like 50. They're really a great bunch of people. They come to the tracks, and I mean, they're going to be part of it like BDS has with me for 7 years now. I hope, that we're all together that long. Al's not waiting for the new paint job to dry because he's got big plans for the off-season. We're going to probably spend a couple of weeks doing some major testing in Gainesville and trying to get ready for the new season and trying to be fast enough to come out here and stop Force from running 10, 12 races, whatever it was this year. And that's what's hot. Stop the presses. There's one more what's hot, and that's the dress on Ursi Hill, wife of Eddie Hill, the Top Fuel champion. You've been shopping, girl.
It's all I could find in Wichita Falls.
Get it? Oh, yeah, right. I think Nordstrom's down the street.
No, I really got it in Wichita Falls, seriously.
Well, you got to do something with this money.
Oh, thanks. I'm looking forward to the check tonight.
And Eddie, you've been looking forward to this moment most of your adult life, and that's a long time.
That is a long time, but it feels so sweet. I don't believe I could enjoy it this much if I hadn't been trying this long for it.
And all your friends are here, the crew is here. You're going to make a real celebration out of this.
A real Texas celebration. We had one last night, be another one tonight.
May go on all week. Eddie is 57 years of age, but two other drivers, just a couple of years his junior, wreaked havoc in Top Fuel at Pomona. Here's Dave McClellan's first report.
Each year, the Winston Finals signals a brief parting of the ways for race teams and fans of the sport, as the final win light means see you at next year's Winter Nationals. But for Jim Head, Pomona meant a new beginning and a seat in the brand new Smokin' Joe's Dragster.
Well, I'm really excited. Paul Candice has been hired by Joe Camel to field a Top Fuel car and a Top Fuel dragster and a Top Fuel funny car. And I'm going to be the driver of the Top Fuel dragster.
But before Jim could walk a mile, he had big plans for the Pomona quarter mile.
I race my own race and do the best I can, and we think we're going to be victorious first round.
But so did hometown girl Shelly Anderson. Jim left first, but in the far lane, Shelly's Jolly Rancher Candy's dragster motored past for the win. But don't feel too bad for Jim Head.
I'm kind of glad to get 93 over with, and all I got to say to these guys, look out.
Shelly Anderson was taken out in the second round by number 2 qualifier Kenny Bernstein, which set up a Final Four war between the Budweiser King and Rance McDaniel. .44 reactions and a pair of 489 ETs in the race of the day sent Rance McDaniel into his third final round of the season while in the other Final Four, it was experience over youth, as Jimmy Nix in the near lane hole-shotted E.T. King Corey McLenathan, setting up a final round duel between the two 50-something veterans. As the sun set on the 1993 season, Nix's bid for his first win since the 1966 Spring Nationals came up short as McDaniel sped to his first career NHRA victory.
This is the best day of my life, there's no doubt about it. We've deserved this before now. We've gotten it. It's our turn.
So the final Winston point standings look like this. Eddie Hill is the champ, followed by Mr. 308, Scott Coletta. Kenny Bernstein and Mike Dunn and Rance McDaniel's win locks up a top 5 finish.
And now Red Wing Shoes wants to take a moment to tell you who's hot in the world of drag racing. The Winston Finals got off to a nervous start as Southern California's infamous Santa Ana winds whipped up wildfires within view of the Fairplex. The track escaped the firestorm, but hundreds of homes didn't. Eddie and Ursi Hill took up a collection to help the fire victims.
The racers have been extremely generous. They don't mind putting in some big bills or some hundreds in there. And the crowd as well has been very, very generous and bringing money by the whole weekend. So we're real proud of everybody that's contributed. We appreciate it. I know the Red Cross will.
Congratulations to Eddie and Ursi Hill. You know, I wandered over to the table of Pro Stock winner Warren Johnson. I said, would you stand up? He says, I am standing up. Well, you're in a good mood tonight.
Well, we survived this year, so we're happy.
Well, I don't see your son Kurt at the table. You don't eat together, just race together?
It's tough enough racing together. Eating together, we might start throwing things at each other.
A second straight championship.
Oh, we're happy with this one. The first one was just a lot of relief to finally win that after all those years, but this second one is something special.
Indeed. And you started the year without a sponsor. All that came around. Everything worked for you. The script played out.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly the way we wanted to start the season out, but everything came blended in actually at Houston already, so we weren't that far into the season before things came together real nicely.
Have a great time tonight, wife Arlene, the whole family.
Okay, thanks very much, Steve.
Okay, this past weekend, well, they did race together. Clear to the final round. Here's Dave's Pro Stock report.
The Winston Finals is the finish line for the NHRA Pro Stock season, but for Austin, Texas, Tim Jost, Pomona marked his return to eliminations after a long dry spell.
I had a 20-year layoff and decided to get back into NHRA racing about a year ago in March. I just got tired of watching on TV. I wanted to go participate. We've spent all year, and it's the first race we've qualified at. And it's a slow, expensive learning process.
Tim's learning process continued in round 1 as he fouled in the near lane against one of the masters, Larry Morgan's super clean Cutlass.
I stood up there earlier and watched Buster bring the tree down, and I tried to anticipate the yellow light coming on.
Larry Morgan was taken out in round number 2 by number 4 qualifier Jim Yates, setting up a Final Four matchup between Yates and Winston champion Warren Johnson. In the near lane, Yates' Dynamax Pontiac left on WJ, but the GM Performance Parts power ran Yates down, sending Warren to the final against either his son Kurt or the Mopar Dodge of Scott Jeffrey. Kurt's reaction in the far lane gave him the lead at quarter track, and the Johnson Power held off Scott's charge for the win. For the 6th and final time of 1993, it was a Johnson & Johnson final. Kurt's quick light kept it close to half track, but in the far lane, Warren's Cutlass surged ahead, capping a dominant season with his 9th win of the year.
We won the final race, but I think it's actually a great beginning for next year is what it really is.
So the Pro Stock competition has been forewarned. Warren plans more of the same in 94. Kurt Johnson winds up second in the Winston point standings, followed by Scott Jeffrey on Larry Morgan and Mark Poway.
Of the 4 professional categories, only Pro Stock bike came down to the Winston Finals, and the winner is Dave Schultz again.
Yeah, after an early season crash, we got a little bit of a slow start, and so we had to come on real strong in the last half of the season.
You know, you mentioned a crash. People figure if you fall off that bike, you're really hurt bad. Not bad, really.
No, not bad at all. The safety equipment did a great job and allowed me to come back and win the Winston Championship.
But what a challenge John Myers was all year in Star Racing.
Absolutely. Those guys are always tough. They won the championship last year, and there was nothing I could do about it. This year, they made the championship really valuable.
Good luck at 94.
Thank you.
You know, Warren Johnson wasn't the only Winston champ to score at Pomona. This guy did, too. Here's Dave's report.
At the Winston Finals, the Pro Bike crown was clinched as soon as David Schultz qualified for the field. But Schultz was not without his challengers this season, like Russ Nyberg, the lone Kawasaki rider in a field dominated by Suzukis.
We feel real satisfied because with the new rules for 93, overall opinion was that the Kawasaki is obsolete, and we've shown that we can still be competitive.
Nyberg is famous for his long, smoky burnouts, but that couldn't help him keep his grip in round one, as in the near lane, the Kawasaki nearly bucked him off. But Will Jonassy's Suzuki had its own problems, and Nyberg advanced.
The weight transfer got messed up, and it caused the bike to really go out of control.
In round two, Nyberg fouled, but the number 3 qualifier, Kerry Larkin, got loose and crossed the center line, giving the win back to Russ.
I've heard of that before, but I've never seen it happen, and it happened to us, and it was unbelievable.
Ironically, Russ's solo Kawasaki was beaten in the Final Four by the only Yamaha in the field, Byron Hines' Vance and Hines entry, which met newly crowned champ Dave Schultz Sunoco Suzuki in the final. But in the far lane, Byron fouled and Schultz kept the hammer down to end the 93 season in winning style.
We came here not just to clinch and then relax. We came here to win this race. We wanted to make as strong a statement for next year as we can.
So Dave Schultz serves notice to John Myers, John Smith, Byron Hines, and Paul Gast, who round out the top 5 in the Winston point standings.
Welcome back, everyone, to NHRA Today at the Winston Champions Banquet. If you don't know this face, you must have just been channel surfing and accidentally found us. John Force, you've won the funny car title again. Comeback 93.
Hey, it's great, Steve, and come back here and have the family here and all the sponsors and my agent, and just to be able to kick back and look back over the year, it's just a great feeling.
Isn't this beautifully done? It makes you feel like a champion.
It really does. NHRA and Winston, they always go way out of their way for us, and they give us a great show. And tonight's a night after all the hard work all these guys have done, Austin Coyle and Bernie, and all the teams in this room. It's nice to come home, and NHRA and Winston shows the appreciation.
Enjoy it with your family.
Will do.
Okay, everybody always looks forward to a John Force acceptance speech, but this past weekend, well, John stumbled a little bit. Here's Dave's Funny Car Report.
As usual, Funny Car Eliminator at the Winston Finals brought the cream of the crop to the top of the qualifying order. Etchells, Pedregon, Force, and the surprising name of rookie Dean Scusa, who broke the Star's stranglehold on the top 3 by posting a stunning 5:08.
We didn't really think it was going to run a 5:08. We figured maybe like a 10 or 11. And I think the actual performance gains you've been seeing lately are because the team's gelling together.
The glue that holds the Scusa team together is Dean's dad, Don.
He's having a bunch of fun. He's the team owner. He put everything together. He bought all the parts and so forth. But he's got a lot of jobs on the car, too.
In round 1, Dean met number 14 qualifier Gary Dencham. And while Dencham couldn't make it stick, Scusa prevailed and set up a second round date with the blower drive services entry of Al Hoffman. Dean cut the quicker light, but in the far lane, Hoffman chipped away and nipped him at the line, ending 93 for the optimistic Scusa.
Like I was saying before, it's the crew is finally coming together and gelling, and we're excited for next year.
Al Hoffman then cruised through McDonald's when Pedregon smoked the tires in the Final Four, and Al's opponent in the title round would be the winner between 2 record holders. John Force's 4-second Castrol Cutlass overpowered the near lane, sending Jim Epler's 300-mile-an-hour Rug Dr. Olds into its second final of the season. After completing his burnout for the final round, Clutch Goblins got Al Hoffman on this Halloween night, but Jim Epler still put on a show for the Pomona faithful, soloing his way to the second win of his career.
We won here in Winter Nationals in '92. I figured I'd have a lot more, between now and then, but as they say, the highs and lows of drag racing get you.
The final funny car tally shows a dominant John Force as champion, followed by Chuck Etchells, Cruz Pedregon, and Al Hoffman, while Tom Hoover rounds out the top 5.
Castrol presents the GTX Pipeline, the latest news from the world of drag racing.
Among the awards at the Winston Championship Banquet was the Manufacturers' Cup, given to Oldsmobile for its 10 years in drag racing. In that time, 300 drivers have rocketed down the quarter mile with Olds, and their names are on the pedestal of a second Olds trophy. The NHRA Media Award went to Ontario's own Louis Brewster, sports editor of the Inland Valley Daily Bulletin. Chuck Etchells and Jim Epler were surprised with special bronze sculptors to mark their 4-second 300-mile-an-hour milestones. There was no surprise in the choice for Rookie of the Year, freshman phenom Kurt Johnson, who thanked the safety safari for its unfortunately frequent help.
The only thing I can hope they can do next year is not put their trucks in drive every time I pull them a stage beam.
Here at the banquet, the sportsman racers, believe me, are not neglected. In fact, right now, we'd like to tell you who the Winston World Champions are. In Super Comp, it's Scotty Richardson. In Super Gas, John Wood. Jason Line won Stock Eliminator. Super Stock went to Greg Stanfield. Competition to Bill Moropoulos. Top Alcohol Funny Car, it was Randy Anderson and Blaine Johnson in Top Alcohol Dragster. And right now, fittingly, here's Bob Fry to tell us how some of these racers just barely made it happen at Pomona.
In addition to it being the Winston Finals, it was also Halloween weekend out at the Pomona Fairplex, and that means there were some tricks and maybe some treats for a few of our sportsman racers. At least 4 of the titles were still up for grabs and probably wouldn't be decided till we left this weekend. In stock, both Jason Line and Marianne Method were trying to carve out a Winston Championship. They were up to the task as Jason and Marianne both made it to the semifinals. That's where the battle ended as both lost, and that meant Jason's 400-point lead coming into this race held up, and he was crowned Winston champ. The Superstock title was decided early. Greg Stanfield, who took over the points lead with this win in Phoenix, didn't have to wait long as both Rick Hauser and Sal Biondo went out early. The real dogfight of the day was in Super Gas. John Coughlin, who won at Phoenix 2, came out of nowhere to challenge for the title with Randy Adler, Lynn Ellison, and Johnny Wood. Adler and Ellison were both out of it by round 4. And when Johnny Wood lost in the 5th round, that left only Coughlin with a shot. John needed to get to round 6 for the championship, but he lost to Rod Horner 1 round early. And the Super Gas championship went to Johnny Wood by a mere 9 points. The comp battle was a 2-man race with defending Winston champ Steve Johns and the former champion Bill Moropoulos. Bill held the lead going in, and Johns had to win this event to win the title. When Steve fouled out against John Geyer, his reign as champion was over, and Bill Moropoulos was the competition eliminator champion for the 3rd time. Now here are the rest of the winners from the Winston Finals. Well, there was a lot of tension for some of the racers battling for the Winston Championships, but none in this camp. Randy Anderson locked that up last weekend, and congrats to Randy for his Winston title. Speaking of titles, let's see who won them down at Gainesville, Florida. For 32 events at Puerto Rico International Speedway, racers battle it out for the track championship. Not only do the winners get a championship ring and coat, but a trip to the States for the Firestone TNN ET Racing Tournament in Division 2. Track owner Raymond Lopez puts money aside all year long to send a Puerto Rican team to Gainesville for the ET Finals. This year, the largest contingent ever. About 100 people came up from the island with 10 Super Pro cars, 10 Pro cars, 10 motorcycles, and a junior dragster. Now, the travel, hotel accommodation, shipping of the cars, and entry fees were all paid by the track, about $40,000 for this one race.
I know it's a lot of money, $40,000 to compete, but for us, it's something was paid because it's being recognized here in the United States.
Team Puerto Rico also had TV and newspaper representatives covering their week-long trip to America.
I think it's much, much better than before because the first time they came, almost all the participants were new. They didn't know what we were coming. So this time, most of them have the experience and much better in the lights, making the time, everything.
Even despite the unseasonable 40-degree weather, the Puerto Rican team started off battling for the lead after 2 rounds. But they slowly faded as the sun went down. Several Team Puerto Rico racers stayed in the running late, but all were gone by the semis, giving Team Puerto Rico a 5th overall finish out of the 12 tracks represented at the ET Finals. The top spot went to Team Moroso, and a major contributor to their success was Claude DeBonis in the near lane, who won the motorcycle final for the 3rd year in a row.
The last 3 years, matter of fact, the weather's been real cold there, so we kind of got used to it. And lucky we got, lucky and hung around till late.
Now here are the rest of the winners from Division 2. For NHRA Today, I'm Bob Fry.
Joining us now is the president of NHRA, Dallas Gardner. And Dallas, a great 93, but particularly for you, because you like to see those racetracks improve, those ballparks, and what about Pomona?
Well, we're thrilled with Pomona. You know, it took 10 years to get that project done, and I saw you with the tire in the background on NHRA Today Sunday morning, and I did not know what I was looking at. It just wasn't the old Pomona. It's a wonderful place, and we're really proud of it.
Well, let's have a great 94 then.
We will.
So for all of us here at NHRA Today, I'm Steve Evans saying see you then on TNN.
NHRA Today is a presentation of Diamond B Sports.